potentially negative balance sheet effects. Firms and individuals had most of their debts denominated in dollars. To address this problem, the government adopted a forceful conversion of most financial assets and liabilities that were denominated in dollars into pesos at the old parity. This is now widely known as pacification. This policy was very disruptive and was a source of social unrest, especially among small depositors who found that their savings had lost purchasing power.
What consequences brought the crisis to the region? The impact of the crisis in neighboring countries are numerous, in the trade of goods and services, in external resource inflows and remittances from migrant workers, in the situation of the banking systems and profitability of foreign companies with investments in Argentina and the region, in the increased volatility in foreign exchange markets, in economic policies. Argentine imports were stunning decline, estimated at about two-thirds during the first 4 months of 2002, which influenced the drastic devaluation and internal weakness and had repercussions in Mercosur countries and Chile. Uruguay is one of the most affected countries. In the first 4 months of this year, exports of goods to Argentina fell by 70% over the same period in 2001, when it had already produced a significant drop. The direct costs of the crisis are estimated at just over 2 percentage points of GDP for Uruguay. In Brazil, even though its economy of almost 3 times of Argentina and the diversification of its markets, the shortfall in exports to Argentina led to a contraction of nearly 6% in goods exports. In 2001, Argentina purchased 8.6% of Brazilian exports, and this proportion rises to almost a quarter in the case of manufactured goods products, which are not easy to divert to other markets in the short term. In addition, Brazilian exporters face the problem of collecting sales. Tourism has been another area severely affected. In Paraguay, exports to Argentina fell by about two-thirds in the first months of 2002. The adverse consequences of the Argentine turmoil worsened, despite the existing internal problems. The real sector of the Chilean economy was affected in bilateral trade of goods, tourism, and utilities. Although its export accounted for only 3.2% of the total in 2001, the contraction in the first quarter of 2002 had a negligible incidence. Remittances from migrant workers were also affected, especially in Bolivia and Paraguay, since their income remittances account for about 5% and 2% of GDP, respectively, and a considerable part of that percentage comes from Argentina. Finally, the effects include assets attributable to losses of transnational corporations based in Argentina, a phenomenon that could affect foreign direct investment in the region. The reduction of the heritage of European companies was strong, given its heavy investment in the country, especially in basic services, the oil sector, manufacturing, and financial sectors. In the region, the most affected country by the effects of their investment in Argentina is Chile. Since the amount is equivalent to 3,200 million, they suffered the effects of the deterioration of its stocks from 12% in the weeks following the devaluation of Argentine peso. The incomes declined from 208 million in 2000 to 114 million in 2001. And what about the main consequences for Argentina? In 2001, the crisis produced a reduction of the national GDP of about 20%. The unemployment rate were over 21% and the levels of poverty reached the 53%. From the 166 bailiff banking institutions in December of 1991, only 86 were left at the end of 2001, which represents a decrease from the total bank entities of 48%. The crisis also left a huge devaluation of the Argentine peso.
Created using Powtoon.